You know, I'm not one to brag, but I will. Kind of having a good hair day today. In fact, I'm sitting in front of the mirror right now looking at myself going, look how good I look. I'm going to have to kiss myself. All right, here we go with the wheels on the bus going round and round again. Welcome to Monday, my fiends. You know, we're only 10 days away from spring. We can tell winter bye-bye. Get out our tank tops and our shorts. Oh, it's going to be a good summer. I can feel it. Let's get through spring first, though, right? From Hollywood, it's the world-famous Mojo Elliott with another action-packed adventure of the Rat's Ass Podcast. I was thinking today that, you know, it's been a long time since I've been to spring break. You know, when you get older and you get a job, you become a working stiff, all that fun stuff goes out the window. You know, growing up back east, we'd take off from Myrtle Beach. Others went down to Florida. And then when I moved west, Palm Springs was the place to be. Now, I couldn't tell you where the hot spots are today, nor do I give a rat's ass, but I do remember the debauchery of my youth very well. And if you're a college student on the fence about going to spring break, should I go? Should I stay? Should I stay? Should I go? Just go. Go party your ass off. You only live once. And girls do give it away to strangers they'll never see again. And more importantly, they'll never be found out back home. Yeah, I'm reminded of the story of Golden Ass. Golden Ass was my neighbor, and she was a smoking hot Golden Ass. And we called her Golden Ass because she was too good to date guys from the neighborhood. Wouldn't even date guys from her own high school. It was always guys from the other schools, or maybe a college guy. You know the type. Every school had one of these. One night I was walking out of a bar after slinging suds in Myrtle Beach, walking down the parking lot going back to the hotel. Saw this car bouncing up and down, and of course you giggle. It's just a couple people getting their freak on there. Well, naturally, I'm young and impressionable. I had to check it out. So as I walked by the car, the moonlight and the street light was shining into the back seat, and I look inside to see what's going on. And there she was, Golden Ass, getting a cooter massage from some guy wearing a Clemson t-shirt. Clemson, of all places. And yes, she saw me. Her eyes got big as saucers, man. Oh, you can bet she knocked on every damn door in Myrtle Beach the next day looking for me. Every hotel door. But she found me on the beach catching some rays, and she came up and sat down beside me. And she goes, you got to keep my secret. Don't tell anybody what you saw last night. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Well, after some convincing, I said, okay, I'll keep your secret. Because she was my neighbor. She wasn't really a bad person. She just didn't like to date guys from the neighborhood. That's why we called her Golden Ass. But when I saw her after that, I couldn't help myself. I'd say, hey, Clemson, what's happening? And she would give me the side eye. Side eye. And if I saw her today, I would say, hey, Clemson, how you been? How you been? I guarantee you she would remember that night in Myrtle Beach. So I'm telling you, go to spring break if you have the opportunity and have some fun and get some stories of your own. All right, have you heard about Rat Nation yet? It's our listener club that you can join to cash in on some pretty cool stuff. Go check it out now at ratsasspodcast.com, where it does pay to be one of the few and the loud. So how was your weekend? I'm guessing you successfully... I hit the microphone again. Sorry about that. Sometimes that happens because my arms flail when I'm doing the podcast. Well, anyway, Donald Trump said over the weekend that he's on the fence about changing the time change to a permanent time. He says the country's 50-50 split on this issue. There's a lot of moms out there, apparently, who don't like the idea of dropping their kids off at school when it's dark. Well, guess what? It was dark this morning when you dropped off the kids. It's going to be dark tomorrow, and the day after that, the day after that. So here's the deal. Start school a half hour later, and let's do away with this frickin' time change. It doesn't seem to bother folks in Arizona or Hawaii where they don't bother with it. Here in the state of California, we voted back in 2018 by a 60-40 split on Prop 7 to get rid of the time change. But of course, there was some fine print that we didn't see, and it said government still decides. Why have it on the ballot then if government still decides if it happens or not? Oh, it's just absolutely democratic dipshittery that we deal with in California. You know, so maybe Trump makes this a state-by-state decision. That's another idea. But we'll get this thing worked out. Hopefully in California, they said 2027, they'll have some kind of a decision, 9 years after we voted for it. But that's the Democratic dipshittery. And speaking of which, I have a lot of Democratic dipshittery to get to today. Now, you're probably familiar by now with Jasmine Crockett, a Soros Democrat from Texas, who is being touted as the new face of the Democratic Party. Listen to what she had to say over the weekend about illegals coming into America being legal.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime, which is why they're so frustrated, because they really want our local law enforcement to go out and round up people when they could be looking out for the murderers and the sexual abusers as well as the robbers.
Yeah, that's what she said. You heard it correctly. Do I need to play that for you again? Well, apparently she was absent when she was at the University of Houston getting her law degree. She was absent when they covered U.S. Code 1325. That clearly states entering the United States illegally and taking up residence in the U.S. is a crime. What I thought was also kind of funny, they want people out there, they should be out there rounding up the murderers, rapers, and the robbers. Well, who do you think's doing the murdering, raping, and robbing? Jasmine? Now, if you got your law degree from the University of Houston, you might want to ask for a refund on your tuition, because you're not learning a damn thing, and it's obvious. But that's Jasmine Crockett, ladies and gentlemen. She wants to be the face of the Democratic Party and be your president in 2028. You know, maybe it's time for you to think about this. How about stop electing people with ideology and electing people that have ideas for a change? Okay, you're just electing activists. That's all they are. They come with a loud mouth and they're convicted in their beliefs, and you think, oh, they're a good politician. I want them to represent me. They represent themselves. Okay? They represent George Soros, for crying out loud. All right, here's another American idiot named Jon Stewart. You're probably familiar with him if you watch Comedy Central. He hosts The Daily Show on Comedy Central. Check out this nice piece of this information. I just got to bring it up here. Brace yourselves. Who knows what's going to happen?
Maintain a political fiction. So you're saying if you have a media machine that purposefully lies to its people to maintain a political fiction and get themselves power, that is the hallmark of an authoritarian system, not a democratic system?
Absolutely.
Well, if we were ever to get something like that in the United States, we would be horrified.
Now, either Jon Stewart is a complete moron, or he's being paid by the liberal media to sell you on the idea that ABC, CBS, NBC, NPR, CNN, MSNBC, am I getting everybody in here? We're not guilty of covering up Joe Biden's mental decline, and that the Biden administration hammered Facebook to purge stories that would have painted the Democrats in a bad light. You know, Mark Zuckerberg kind of pointed this out when he was interviewed by Joe Rogan. You see what Jon Stewart's doing here? He's basically covering for the media, selling you on the idea that all of this stuff the Democratic media did over the past 4 years, oh, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. It would be horrible if our media tried to manipulate people into believing misinformation. Now, you're talking to a guy here who spent his entire life in the media. Media manipulates. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. There's plenty of other stuff I've talked about on previous podcasts if you want to listen to it. What we do know is Jon Stewart is a bleeding heart liberal, which makes him a moron susceptible to participating in Democratic dipshittery like that. Well, if you haven't heard, Canada has a new premier today. His name is Mark Carney. He's a 59-year-old former banker and a Harvard grad, another liberal. Now, regarding the tariff battle with the U.S., Carney said, and he got off to a rousing start with this folks in Canada, he said, like in hockey, Canada will win the tariff battle. I hate to tell Carney this, but no Canadian hockey team in the NHL has won the Stanley Cup since 1993. Just a minor detail there to overlook there, Marco. All right, are you familiar with the band Volbeat? Danish rock band Volbeat, V-O-L-B-E-A-T. You know, unless you're a dedicated rocker and a real head knocker today, I'm going to guess probably not. But I want to introduce you to them if you like rock music, because it's about time somebody did. They formed, I'm going to say, early 2Ks out of Copenhagen, Denmark, and have kind of released 8 albums so far. That's all. Now, these guys are really good. I mean, you think Metallica with a country flair, if you will. Now, on June 6th, they've got a new album due out. It'll be their 9th studio album. It's called God of Angels Trust. And they got a new single that's available right now called By a Monster's Hand. You need to check it out. I posted it Friday on the Rat's Ass Podcast Facebook page, but you can download it or check it out on YouTube. By a Monster's Hand is the single off the album. God of Angels Trust. That's due out June 6th. But check it out, Volbeat, Volbet. Learn it, know it, and rock to it. All right, who's up for some head? How about we just play a game of head drum and leave it at that? All right, this round is called Liar, Liar. I'm going to tell you something about myself, and you have to determine whether I'm telling you the truth or am I lying my ass off. All right. I had a reoccurring role once upon a time on the TV show Moonlighting with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd. My character was Dax, and I was an informer. Am I lying or am I telling the truth? I'll have the answer coming up with the podcast, and I'll post it on the Rat's Ass Podcast Facebook page at ratsasspodcast.com. That's where you can connect to everything Rat's Ass Podcast, by the way. All right, who's ready for some loose behavior? It's Monday. 10 days away from spring. Let's get it on. All right, here's what's happening on the Rat's Ass Podcast X feed. Mother of Mayhem posted this one. If you could murder one person and get away with it, who would it be? The answers were amazing on this, by the way. Bonita said, my ex-boss. He hit on me constantly and tried to break up my marriage, and I finally got wise and quit, but he cost me a high-paying job. Well, Bonita, it looks like you took the high road and you're waiting for karma to do its deal to him. And it will. Karma always finds somebody. It just doesn't happen on your time frame. But you got away from it. Probably a wise decision too, Bonita. All right, Brad Keys said, my stepfather, because he would come home drunk and beat the crap out of my mother and me. He died when I was 9, but I would still like to kill the bastard. Okay. I'll tell you what, Brad, once you pull a Frankenstein, dig him up. Hook him up to some electricity, shock him back to life, and kill him again. All right, Jilly Jill said, I wouldn't want to kill anyone, but I would like to torture my ex-boyfriend. He banged my sister and my best friend to get back at me for doing his brother. Oh, God. Oh, I see what you're doing here. He's up 2-1, so you're seeking to even the score by doing what? Maybe hooking his dice up to a pair of jumper cables and a car battery? Oh, God. The reason why we do this stuff from the X feed is just to show you how despicable human beings can be when they're left to think on their own. All right, let's get into today's celebrity cheese. From the Now It Can Be Told file. Pop singer Rihanna said she gave birth to her 2 sons while wearing sunglasses and a pearl necklace. Well, based on having 2 kids, I'd say Rihanna has stuffed a few pearl necklaces up her coochie, too, while wearing sunglasses. Prime Video is set to stream all 7 seasons of Donald Trump's The Apprentice. Oh, boy, some of you just turned over, didn't you? Like, what? What are you talking about? Well, unfortunately, they've decided when Trump says, you're fired, they're going to bleep the word fired. They're going to bleep it out because it might offend a few snowflakes. No, that's misinformation. I'm not lying. That was just misinformation. Like Jon Stewart. If you're not watching Britney Spears dance on Instagram, what the hell's wrong with you? You're missing out. She was recently caught dancing to her ex Justin Timberlake's music, proving once again Britney can dance to anything. You know, celebrities are losing weight. You cannot stop a celebrity from losing weight now that there's a drug for it. Check out these results. Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars dropped 190 pounds. Chrissy Metz from the TV show This Is Us dropped 100. They're going to change the show to That Was Us. Oprah dropped 160. Yes, Oprah Winfrey. Did she do it for Gil or did she do it for Stedman? But she dropped 160 pounds. Randy Jackson, who used to be a judge on American Idol, dropped 130 pounds. Kim Kardashian dropped 70, and that was just one butt cheek. But look at that. 190, 160, 130, 170. All in all, though, Hollywood stars have dropped an estimated 4 tons of weight, with more to come. Proving once again that Hollywood really is full of shit. But who gives a rat's ass? All right, here comes the Rat's Ass Podcast email from our Gmail. This is where you email your questions, comments, and observations to me at ratsasspodcast@gmail.com, and I respond to them here on the cast. No topic is off the table, but the more outrageous and salacious, the better. I do not read your emails in advance. My producer, Fleabag, does forward them to me with your name, where you're from, and rewrites them so I can respond rapid fire and on the fly. All right, Doug W. from Van Nuys, California, said, I read your article on tattooing on your blog, and I've been a tattoo artist for 27 years. I get men and women of all ages getting tattoos for various reasons. You should get the 2 mock-up tattoos you posted, and I'm happy to do both for you, and only charge you for one. Ah, really? Well, look at you trolling me for money, Doug. Well, seriously, though, dude. Thanks for the offer, but I think I'm going to pass on the ink. Beth C., Richmond, Virginia. I got off early from work, and when I got home, I caught my boyfriend of 3 years having sex with a girl he works with. So I joined in. Is this something we can recover from? Well, if you're asking, can your relationship go back to being what it was? Not bloody likely. All right, Clyde F. from Newark, New Jersey. I've been talking to an ex-girlfriend on Facebook for about a month, and we're both single. She hinted at getting together soon. The problem is she lives in upstate New York. Should I go see her or invite her to come see me? Dude, always be on the offensive. Go see her. That way, if it doesn't work out, you can split. And I can't say this enough, gentlemen. You never, let me rephrase that. You treat girls like a single mother would treat guys. She should never bring a guy home to meet her kids until she's sure that there's going to be a relationship. It's the same thing in dating women. Never bring them home until you're sure that it could lead to a relationship. You don't want them to know where you live, dudes. All right, Dick E. from Austin, Texas. Dickie. All right. I saw the clip of your asshole Governor Gavin Newsom saying he understood the unfairness of men playing in sports, in women's sports. But you're right. He has no plans to stop it. It's no wonder most of my neighbors are from California. When are you getting out of there? I've always said this, Dick. California's worth fighting for. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Eventually, we will get this thing, we'll get the ship righted. We'll get the ship righted eventually. You know, it's coming. 40% of the state voted red this time. And if it wasn't for like San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, you know, that's the difference. If we can flip those cities, we can get this back to a conservative state. So, I'm not going to leave until my vote counts and we get this thing fixed. All right, Lenny T. from Luxembourg, Germany said, I loved your photo on Instagram of you then and now. Is your family of German descent? I did that 23andMe thing, if you believe it. It says I'm mostly English and Irish, but I do have some German ancestry in my blood, in my gene pool. But I also have some Comanche Indian, too. So one of my ancestors was swinging with Tonto and not Kimosabe, if you know what I'm saying. All right, Carlos M. from Cordoba, Spain said, I met a girl named Lydia Starr from California who was vacationing here in Spain. I lost the piece of paper with her phone number and email address. I know she listens to your podcast because she turned me on to you. Any chance you can help us reconnect? Fleabag, can you go through our emails because we don't delete anything? See if we have something from Lydia Starr. If we have something, we'll be happy to reach out to her and see if she wants to reconnect with you, Carlos. And if we don't have anything, maybe she's listening right now to this particular podcast, and she can send us an email to our Gmail at ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. We'll find out if she's interested. We'll try to get you guys reconnected. So, we got a little bit of a soap opera. Can we make it happen? I'll keep you posted. All right, if you have any observations, comments, or questions, send them to ratsasspodcast@gmail.com. All right, here's your head trauma answer. Today we're playing Liar, Liar. And I was am I telling the truth or lying about this? I once had a reoccurring role on the TV show Moonlighting with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd. My character was named Dax, and I was an informer. Was I telling the truth, or am I lying my butt off? What do you think? Ding, 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 ding. I'm lying my ass off. Yes, I was lying. Did not have a recurring role on Moonlighting. I wish, but did not happen. All right, if you missed it, sorry about that. But go see a doctor about your head trauma, though, okay? Get well soon. All right, I've got to go repossess my neighbor's Porsche, but I do have one more thing for you. Did you know at any given time, 0.7% of the world's population is dead drunk? That means over 50 million people are drunk right now. And that's how we get our listeners here on the Rat's Ass podcast, because you absolutely have to be drunk to listen to my nonsense. All right, I've got a few shout-outs to do. In the USA, folks listening in Corpus Christi, Texas, Jacksonville, Florida, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and around the world in Hamilton, New Zealand, Sydney, Australia, Paris, France, and Frankfurt, Germany. Appreciate your ears. All right, that's it for this episode of the Rat's Ass Podcast. Be sure to check out the new ratsasspodcast.com to connect with us on the socials, listen to the podcast, join Rat Nation, and read the blog where right now you'll find 13 different sex studies, the results of 13 different sex studies. Go check them out. We'll do this again on Wednesday, the Hump Day, March 12th. Take care of each other, and thanks again for stopping by the Rat's Ass Podcast.